we could talk about it every week, and people will continue to click because it's like the funnest thing to talk about leading up to WrestleMania, and that is who is the Undertaker's opponent.
Yes.
We keep seeing this over and over. We all know. You take it with a grain of salt. What's it's reported this guy, the report of that guy. You take it with a grain of salt. But over and over and over from the Wrestling Observer, we keep hearing Braun Strowman.
Look, that's a horrible idea. I don't know whose idea it is to pair him and the Undertaker up. Just because they're big and it would look good in the ring for 30 seconds doesn't necessarily make it's going to be a good match. And when you look at the Undertaker, the last opponents that he's had have been pretty good ring technicians. You've had Brock Lesnar, you've had even Bray Wyatt to an extent, Triple H's, CM Punk, Shawn Michaels. He should face Chris Jericho. Because Chris Jericho comes back for a reason, and everybody always complains about Chris Jericho, putting guys over like Fandango and this and that. You can immediately make everybody forget about those horrible times that Jericho's returned if you turn him heel, target one of the legends, one of the guys he's never really had a chance on the big stage to feud with. And I was actually very negative about this a couple of years ago whenever he came back and people brought his name up in conversation because of the size differential. Well, now I'm changing my tune because what the roster has right now without a John Cena to face the Undertaker, it's either him or a wild card like a Rusev if he was still relevant this time last year.
What I don't like I don't hate the Jericho idea, but what I dislike about it is I just feel that we're at that point now with Taker. There's no more streak. He's not going to have a title. So at this point, I just feel, let's just emphasize the up-and-coming talent.
But what does that do for them if they lose to The Undertaker?
I think it's standing in the ring with The Undertaker for WrestleMania does a lot.
See, I go the opposite way. I think you need marquee, you need 100,000 people. You put Taker with somebody that's name is credible enough.
Yes, his brother, Kane.
Not for a third time,
yes.
though.
Oh, what was wrong with Triple H?
But Triple H that's a great wrestling match. This Kane and Undertaker is the same thing.
Listen, there's great wrestling matches and there's great stories to be told.
What other story?
Let me put it this way: if it was going to be Kane, right now, basically we're seeing Kane so intermittently. He comes out from Rumble. If it was going to be Kane, Kane would be on every freaking program right now because they would need to build him back up to remind everybody how dangerous the demon can be.
It would take one Monday Night Raw for Kane to do something.
Yeah, I agree with him on that. I don't think you need Kane every single week winning to build him up because if you keep him off TV for so long, then he comes back and makes one big impact. That can get him over. I see Undertaker and Kane, and that doesn't wow me in a WrestleMania this year where you don't know what's going to happen aside from potentially the championship match. You got to have a really good Taker
My
match.
thought the thing with Braun Strowman, I totally agree. It's not. I mean, it screams WrestleMania 9 all over again with Giant Gonzalez. I understand that they see money in Strowman because of his size and the fact that he actually is learning for all things considered, he's learning. He's been thrown in the deep end of the pool. But yeah, put him up against Big Show, tout that whole thing, let that be its own little whatever. Put him in the Andre the Giant Memorial. Yeah. Segueing from Braun Strowman though, let's talk about the rest of the Wyatts because kind of it all intertwines. Because you hear about Braun Strowman potentially for the Undertaker, then you wonder what's Bray Wyatt. You think Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar. But can they afford to put that as a one-on-one?
I think so.
I
think they could.
What's the Wyatt's overall identity with Mania?
Well, the Wyatt's overall identity has been Bray versus a big star. Cena, Taker. Who's bigger than Cena and Taker? Brock Lesnar. I think anybody else for Bray Wyatt right now would be a letdown. Wouldn't you? He could go 0-3 at WrestleMania and still face the three big names and then just rattle off some more wins after that. Like, let's be honest here. Does wins and losses at WrestleMania really mean
No,
anything?
but at some point you have to establish yourself as someone the fans can take seriously, like a legitimate threat. No world title in his past.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to have him lose to three guys back to back to back like that. There's got to be some time. This has to be the year he wins. He's got to win this year.
Face?
I don't know how I don't know how you put Brock versus Bray straight up, but then again, you can't even have like Brock run the gauntlet because if he does that and he beats all of them, it just makes the Wyatts.
Undertaker and Kane beat the Wyatts, so
you basically can't put Brock in a ring with anybody unless
there's obstacles for him to overcome.
Well, no, you can't put Brock in the ring. Brock almost can't be in the ring right now. It almost seems unless your name is John Cena. It has to be just the top of the top. I don't know. I have a hard time with this whole.
Brock Lesnar. Who does Brock Lesnar go after now?
And I of course wanted something like a Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Brock has gotten himself in such a position. It's awesome for him, and it's awesome for the value of him.
But it's very difficult.
But it's hard to put him up against
anybody.
It's very
difficult to book.
Whatever it is, though, I think that you have to utilize Paul Heyman. So if you have someone good on the mic, like a say they were going to go and say it was Dean Ambrose against Brock Lesnar. Dean can talk on the mic just like he did on Raw. What if it's Kevin Owens? Kevin Owens, it's got to be someone who can interact with Paul Heyman to build that feud, because obviously we know Brock Lesnar's not talking.
Yeah, I don't know. It goes back to what we talked about earlier this weekend, as I said, and you touched on it, and I just was able to further that point by just a few phone calls. They're in an odd position for this time of the year to still have all these holes to fill.
Yes or no? Is AJ Styles get a championship match somehow, or a big match against Brock Lesnar?
I don't think so.
AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar in the ring?
I'm just saying.
I don't
Wow.
think so.
Seems stranger. AJ Styles is bigger than Seth Rollins. Physically, he's bigger than Seth Rollins physically. We saw that.
Well, I'll say this to your point. AJ Styles is
like stirring the pot here.
AJ Styles is about a comparable size to Daniel Bryan, and the original plan, as we have learned, is that when Daniel Bryan won that title at Mania in New Orleans, the plan was for him to hold it until SummerSlam, and then he would face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So if they at least considered, and of course he got hurt before that could even take place. So so it's not out of the question that they wouldn't come up with it, but I don't know.
Not that.
I don't know how you really.
It's just hard to believe 2 years ago Daniel Bryan had to overcome all odds, defeat Randy Orton and Batista, had to beat Triple H earlier in the night, and it's been 2 years ago already, and we're at the point where Triple H is going to be relevant to the
He's
world
still
title
champion. He's
at
the champion.
WrestleMania,
He's the champion.
He's the game.
as he
that
was
best
2
for
years
business?
ago. No.
He's the game.